If you'd like to read along, we'll be reading from 1 Samuel 2:12 through 17, and we'll skip down to 22 through 25. As soon as I can find it. This is about the wicked sons of Eli. Now when the sons of Eli were corrupt, and they did not know the Lord, and the priest's custom with the people was that when any man offered a sacrifice, the priest's servant would come with a 3-pronged flash hook in his hand while the meat was boiling. Then he would thrust it into the pan or kettle or cauldron or pot, and the priest would take for himself all that the flesh hook brought up. So they did in Shiloh to all the Israelites who came there. Also, before they burned the fat, the priest's servant would come and say to the man who sacrificed, Give meat for roasting to the priest, for he will not take boiled meat from you, but raw. And if the man said to him, They should really burn the fat first, then you must take as much as your heart desires. He would then answer him, No, but you must give it to me now, and if not, I will take it by force. Therefore the sin of the young man was very great before the Lord, for men abhorred the offering of the Lord. And over in verse 22, Then Eli was very old, and he heard everything his sons did to all Israel, and how they lay with the women who assembled at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. So he said to them, Why do you do such things? For I hear of your evil dealings from all the people. No, my sons, for it is not a good report that I hear. You make the Lord's people transgress. If one man sins against another, God will judge him. But if a man sins against the Lord, who will intercede for him? Nevertheless, they did not heed the voice of their father, because the Lord desired to kill them. You may be seated.
It's good to see everybody here this morning with us, and we are blessed to have a number of visitors. I know that some are back, have been with us before. Some are very familiar to us. You've been a part of our family at previous times, and we're just glad to see each and every one. And if this is your first visit with us at South Trail, we hope that it won't be your last. We hope that you'll come back and worship with us at every opportunity, and we hope today that with all of our old friends and new friends, that you'll not run out the door, but just give us a chance to be able to talk with you and visit with you as we can. We had a great week at Florida Bible Camp. It was a successful week. We had 118 campers and a very full staff. We had a wonderful opportunity. It was a great spiritual opportunity with the young people. No incidences. It was just a great week. And so we appreciate all the help and the support. The 17 of our young people who were able to participate, and they have some great memories that they were able to form this week. So we appreciate that. This next week is Vacation Bible School. We get back from camp and we jump right in to another activity, but we hope that all the parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, that you'll be talking to your children as you have opportunity. Bring them this week, 6:30 to 8:30 every evening, Monday through Thursday, and then the open house, same time, 6:30 on Friday evening. And if you're not already involved in Vacation Bible School, we have an adult class, so plan to come and participate and just see all the hard work that goes into this and making it successful. This will be a wonderful opportunity. We recognize that today is Father's Day. I heard about a father who was trying to get his young daughter to elementary school on time. And as in the middle of driving and with being rushed and wanting to get there on schedule, he came up to a red light where a right turn was prohibited. But in all the rush, he went ahead and turned right anyway. After he had completed the turn, he realized his mistake, and he said to his little girl, "Uh-oh, I just made an illegal turn." The girl wanted to encourage her father. She said, "Daddy, don't worry about it. The police car behind us just did the same thing." We want to encourage our fathers. We want to honor them. Fatherhood has great opportunity, but it also comes with an awesome responsibility. Fatherhood in America has, for a number of years, been on the decline. We're told in the U.S. Census Bureau in 2009 that 24 million children in America live apart from their father. That's 1/3 of all kids in our nation live separate from their father. Now, it breaks down a little bit differently. It's actually 2/3 of African American children live apart from their father. 1/3 of Hispanic children live apart from their father, and 1 out of 4 white children live apart from their father. And most of those, a great majority, about 50%, haven't even seen their father within the last year. What difference does it make? Well, the children who live in a home without their biological or even an adopted father are 2 to 3 times more likely to be poor when they grow up. They're 2 to 3 times more likely to be engaged in criminal activity. They're 2 to 3 times more likely to have educational, emotional, behavioral problems. They're 2 to 3 times more likely to be engaged in drug use. It makes a tremendous impact. What is natural is for kids to want and to seek role models. And whether it's superheroes, cartoon characters, celebrities, or sports figures, children are going to look out for someone that they can model their lives after. When we look in the animal kingdom, we see how animals treat their young and teach them how to be able to forage or to feed themselves, to be able to protect themselves and survive. And in the lives of human beings, it is critical that fathers are involved. Fathers are the very first impression. God designed them to be the first impression of God Himself. Fathers are to instruct their children, to be able to train them, to educate them, to provide, to protect them, and even give them the spiritual inclination of the understanding of what it means to be forgiven. Fathers are crucial in this role that God has given. In Deuteronomy 5 and verse 16, as Moses is repeating the law that he had already given, what he had brought down from Mount Sinai with all of its instructions, he tells them, he says, honor your father and mother, as the Lord your God has commanded you, that your days may be long on the earth, and that it may be well with you in the land which the Lord your God is giving you. God's giving you this land, and in other words, here's how in turn you show your gratitude. He says, honor your father and mother. God gave you parents for a reason. It's not just procreation. It's not just getting people into the world, but there is a relationship that is meant to be fostered and nourished. In Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 1, and really in all of Proverbs chapter 4, but it starts out like this. Listen to what the wise man said. Hear, my children, the instruction of a father, and give attention to know understanding. For I give you good doctrine. Do not forsake my law. When I was my father's son, tender and the only one in the sight of my mother, he also taught me and said to me, let your heart retain my words, keep my commands, and live. Get wisdom, get understanding. The process by which a father raises children. Paul says, and fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the training and admonition of the Lord. Over and over in Scripture, the relationship of a father to his children is compared and is analyzed as it relates to our Heavenly Father. That thought ought to permeate our families. It ought to permeate all that we are and all that we do. This morning, Bill read for us about an ineffective father. Eli is the priest and judge of Israel. He has 2 sons named Hophni and Phinehas. And these 2 sons have grown up in the same line of work. they're serving as priests. Eli, from about the age of 58 to 98, judges Israel for 40 years. And during this time, his sons are serving as priests at the tabernacle or the tent of meeting. And as the people would come to worship, they would see Eli's sons. Let me ask you, what kind of a father was Eli? Eli was professional. That is, he was in a business role. He was career-oriented. If we were to look at him in that sense, we would say Eli was successful. He was very dedicated to the work that he did. Over and over here in 1 Samuel, in the first 4 chapters, it talks about the fact that Eli was a priest and a judge, and he served them for a long time, all the way to the day of his death. Eli was also religious. He was a believer. We would look at that and we would say there was no question about Eli and his role as priest and judge, that he had a relationship with God, that he was religiously motivated and religiously dedicated. Unfortunately, that belief of the father didn't get passed down to the sons. Domestically, Eli was a father, and he had these 2 sons, but he hadn't made the same dedication or commitment to his role in the home as he had in the religion and the religious circle of his nation. Paul Lewis has suggested a number of years ago, I read this, he has suggested that men, when they have their business cards printed up, that they not only put what their occupation is or what their position is in their particular company, but that they also add their father of, and they list their children. I would say that it would be just as well for them to also add husband of and add their wife's name. But think about what a difference it would make if not only if we would see ourselves in some sort of a business position or even as the owner or operator of a company, but to see ourselves as in that management role in the home. The responsibility that we have with these children. One thing that I have learned, all right, and I'm not going to tell you that I've learned everything, but one thing I have learned is that children do not come pre-trained. And I will say they don't come pre-clean either. They come messy. And the whole process in the family, in some sense, is messy. I've talked to a lot of fathers and they say, but I don't know how. Understand. Especially if you haven't seen, in some sense or measure, a role model, then it's that much more difficult for a young man to be and to act like a father. Look at Eli. Where did Eli go wrong? Look at what it says about his sons there in 1 Samuel 2 and verse 12. Now the sons of Eli were corrupt. If it just stopped there, that's bad enough. They were evil. They were violent. They were thieves. And they did those things by the fornication that they committed with the women that truly were abhorrent among the people. But look at the end of verse 12. They did not know. They did not know the Lord. How is it possible that Eli, with his relationship, the fact that he was given instruction, the fact that he was a teacher, the fact that he had to know the law of Moses frontwards and backwards, how is it that Eli didn't so instill in his children that they had a personal relationship with the Lord? It says they did not know the Lord. They're serving as priests. It's not that they didn't know about the Lord. It's not that they didn't know about the law, but they did not take that which they knew and make it personal. It hadn't become a part of who they were. It wasn't a part of their identity. It wasn't at the core of their character. Those sons, therefore, did not know the Lord. Jesus said in John 17:3, "This is eternal life, that they may know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent." If we're going to know God today, it is going to be because we know Jesus. It's going to be because we know the Son of God, whom He has sent to reveal, to declare, to impress, to show us by His life and example who God is, so that we can know Him. Not just know about Him, but so that our relationship can absolutely be something personal, something individual, that your faith is not just resting on something that is based on somebody else. Teacher was asking a group of children in a Bible study, a Bible class, about their family, and asking them about whether or not their parents were Christians and their grandparents had been Christians. One little boy, as the teacher was asking about his background, he finally looked at the teacher and said, "I guess it just runs in the family." Well, it's supposed to. It's supposed to run in the family. It should be passed down, passed along. It should be something that is impressed upon the children in your home. You may say, well, the mother, by being the nurturer, by being, and many times, the caregiver, is the one who has the primary responsibility. May I offer this alternative? That unless it starts by the leadership of the man, the father, the husband, the head of the house, the mother has her work already handicapped. She's handcuffed. The children are going to say, "But what about Dad? Why isn't he going? Why isn't he part of this?" Eli heard about his sons. There, as Bill read for us, in verse 22, it says that he heard everything his sons did to all Israel. Eli knew. One of the things I emphasized was that Eli was not just the high priest, he was the judge over Israel. They didn't have a king. And so Eli was the one who, when matters came to be tried, that is, the supreme court of the land was with Eli. Eli, as the judge, was there to settle matters. So I ask you, if Eli's sons were misbehaving, if Eli's sons were doing all of this evil, and even the violence of taking the priest's portion by violence, by force, there in verse 16, all of these things, and Eli hears about it, why didn't he stop it? Eli needed to take a lesson from Donald Trump. Now, there aren't many times that I would use Donald Trump as an example, okay? Just trust me. But when he has his television show and somebody's eliminated, he looks at him and he says, 2 words, "You're fired." Eli should have looked at Hophni and Phinehas and said, "You're fired." He didn't have the strength of his own character, the strength of his own position, the responsibility that he bore to be able to discipline his own sons. Oh, he talks to them, but it's too little too late. He's already been a passive father. That is, he's basically looked at them and he says, well, a little bit won't hurt. What other people don't know won't really be a problem. Oh, Eli, now it's a problem. Everybody knows. Everybody's been impacted by the sins of your sons. It's come between them and their God. They don't even want to offer a sacrifice to God anymore because they have to go through your sons. It's turned everybody off. When we think about the responsibility that fathers have, I just can't help but think about the verse that Paul says to the Galatians. He says, "Am I become your enemy because I tell you the truth?" The responsibility that dads have, I want to be your friend, but I want to tell you the truth. Dads, what's your response? When the teacher calls home and there's some problem there, you know that 75% of fathers, and it may be growing, they want to blame the teacher. I can tell you when my parents got a call from the school, not once did they blame the teacher. Oh, how I wish they had. Oh, I really wish they had. Not once. Parents, you're the parents. If there's a problem, it's your child. Oh, the teacher may not be perfect, but I would hasten to ask you, are you perfect? Oh, the situation in the school may not be perfect. There may be a lot of other children with bigger problems, and they may be having a bad influence on your child, but I will tell you, you're still the parent. Don't abdicate your responsibility because of others' abdication of their responsibility. They're your children. Eli winked at some of the early abuses of his sons. He didn't correct it when he had the opportunity. Think about it, dads. What is it that you tell your children you believe? Can they say, Dad, you say you believe in the Bible, but I never see you read it. Dad, you say you believe in Bible classes, but I don't see you going and getting there on time. Dad, you say you believe in love and kindness, but I don't see you showing it to mom or to others. Dad, you say you believe in loving the Lord with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, but I don't see that coming first. I don't see that meaning the most. They will be like you. Oh, I don't say that to be ominous. I'm not saying that as a threat. But Eli's sons had missed the good of their father, and they had taken the weakness, the passivity of his own leadership to an extreme. The things that a father fails to do in a family, and again, we're not perfect. None of us are. But the things that are missed are usually the very areas that Satan cultivates. Satan will water that, and Satan will fertilize, and he will help that area in that weakness to grow so that it goes to the extreme. He'll take that little bit, he'll turn it into more if it's not stopped. Small compromises lead to big lapses. It's like what there in 2 Kings 20 and verse 15, the prophet came and asked Hezekiah, the king, he said, what have they seen in your house? The king of Babylon had sent some messengers, and they were to kind of spy out the land, and Hezekiah just showed them everything. He showed them his army, he showed them his wealth, he showed them everything that was there in the temple, he showed them everything. Dads, your children will see everything. You say, oh, no, I'm very careful. I keep certain things over time. They'll see everything. How does that work out when you try to hide certain, and I guess I have to be careful how I say this, but maybe you hide a birthday present. We won't even talk about Christmas, but just hide a birthday present. Have you ever had some little inquiring minds investigate and find all the recesses of the closets or the various locations that you might, again, I don't want to give away everything. Understand they will. They will see what's in your house. Paul told Timothy, he said, let no one despise your youth. Some of you young dads, don't let anybody despise your youth, but be an example in word, in conduct, in faith, in spirit, in love. Faith. In everything. You be an example to them so that what they see is something, and you admit your faults. Admit your weaknesses, because we're not perfect. And we need forgiveness, and we need to be ready to show that. Eli is confronted here in this passage in 1 Samuel 2 by an unnamed prophet. And the man of God comes to him in verse 27 and down to verse 36. He tells him the things that are going to happen, and it's not good. And Eli takes it. Eli says, well, let it be as God says. In chapter 3, Samuel has a voice from God, and Eli finally figures it out, and he says, hey, it's God talking to you? So we see that Eli is spiritually minded. He's open to God. He tells him, you say, speak, Lord, your servant hears. When Eli finally hears about not only his son's death, but the fact that the ark of the Lord has been captured, Eli falls off of a wall. He's an old man, 98 years old, and he says that he was very heavy. And he falls off and it breaks his neck. And you just wonder, was it the shock of that, or was it the total accumulation of everything that Eli knew that had gone wrong that finally overwhelmed him, that finally overcame everything in his life? Eli did not stop. He did not restrain his sons, and it cost him. Effective fathers are not like Eli. Eli was ineffective, but let me quickly tell you and share with you what effective fathers do. Effective fathers demonstrate authority. They demonstrate authority, not by a fist and lording it over their family, but they demonstrate authority because they respect authority. They respect God. They respect God. They want them to see, the children to see what God says. Look at what it means to have and demonstrate authority. In Deuteronomy chapter 11, verses 19 to 21, listen to what there Moses says fathers will do with their children. He says, you shall teach them to your children. That is the commands of God. Speaking of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates, that your days and the days of your children may be multiplied in the land of which the Lord swore to your fathers to give them, like the days of the heavens above the earth. I call that saturation leadership. You teach it to them all the time. It's something to talk about. It's something not just to be learned. It's not an academic exercise. It's a lifestyle. It's something that you not just talk about, but you model. It's who you are. It's who you're becoming. And if a man is not growing into the image of Christ, then it's not going to be possible for him to be the very best father, the most effective father that he can be, because you've got to demonstrate that authority. Bob mentioned in his prayer this morning at the men's prayer breakfast yesterday, Dave Hammer mentioned to us that our priority is getting to heaven. This past week at Florida Bible Camp, one of the lessons that we had 8 classes, and we had the 7 ones in Ephesians 4. Well, that leaves us with 1 extra class. So we talked about the one thing, the one priority that we have, that we're pressing forward, according to Philippians 3 and verse 14, toward the upward call of the prize. That's our goal of God in Christ Jesus. One thing. The problem with too many dads, if I can summarize it, is that they're divided. They're distracted. They got too many things going on. They're trying to wear too many hats. And that one hat of trying to get to heaven for yourself, and then for your family, and then for those that you have the opportunity at work, your friends, your neighbors, other family members, acquaintances, everyone. Getting to heaven becomes that priority. But until that becomes your own priority, it's not going to have the same authority in the lives of children. Secondly, demand accountability. In Hebrews 12:7, it talks about even our Heavenly Father chastens or disciplines us. And so it is in our physical families. We've got to demand accountability. If I could tell you the ABCs of fatherhood, listen to this: actions bring consequences. It starts with the father, and it's going to be passed down. The Bible says, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that shall he also reap. If we sow to the flesh, we shall of the flesh reap corruption. If we sow to the Spirit, we shall of the Spirit reap everlasting life. Sounds like heaven to me. Actions bring consequences. Our children need to understand and hear us say yes and no. We need to be able to tell them what it is that we've said yes to, that we've said yes to God, we've said yes to Jesus, we've said yes to His will, and therefore that means we're going to say no to a lot of other things. We've said yes in our marriage vows, and that means we're going to say no to anyone or anything that compromises or crosses those vows. Tell your children. You may go places that I didn't tell you to go. But when you stand before Jesus on the day of judgment, you tell them I didn't send you there. You tell them you went there on your own. It wasn't because Dad told you or led you there. Thirdly, besides demonstrating authority or demanding accountability, we need to have a determined approachability. Fathers, you need to have that relationship with your sons and daughters that they will approach you, that they'll talk to you. Be available. Be attentive. Give them yourself. Let them know that they can talk to you about anything. They can talk to you about everything. I know that's difficult. There are things that are uncomfortable to talk about, but they need to know you're approachable. Practice it. Heard about what Pete Rose said when he was in the prime as a baseball player. He said, I practice what I'm not good at. He said, most folks practice what they are good at. Dads, you may say, I'm just not good with all those sensitivities, all those sensitive subjects. I may not want to talk about everything. Well, practice. Practice. Let your children know that you're approachable. Ken Blanchard is a guru on management. He's a best-selling author. He's written things like The 1-Minute Manager and many other management books. Ken Blanchard told a story about when his son, Scott, was in high school. He drove a truck, and it was a large truck, so it couldn't be parked in the driveway. He had to park it out on the street. And that rule had been explained many times over. On one occasion, though, Ken Blanchard came home in the middle of the afternoon, and there was Scott's truck parked blocking the whole driveway. When he got inside, he was already frustrated, but Scott was gone with his friends and had taken the keys with him. So Ken Blanchard sat there, waited for several hours until his son Scott got home. As soon as he saw Scott pull up with one of his friends in the car out there on the street, he marched out into the yard. He vented, he fumed, he let Scott know exactly what he had done as far as parking that truck there. And when he thought that he had expressed himself completely, he turned to walk back inside. His son Scott ran after him. He said, Dad, you forgot the last part. Ken Blanchard turned and looked at him. He said, what are you saying? He said, you forgot the last part, the most important part. You're a good son. I love you, and this is so unlike you. Ken Blanchard said he couldn't contain himself. He had to laugh. He gave his son a hug, but he also said, you know what? He said his son never forgot and never parked the truck in the driveway again. Your approachability, the relationship that you have, will make all the difference. Oh, they need reprimands, but because of your relationship, they'll be able to come back. In the New Testament, in Hebrews chapter 8, there's the repetition of a prophecy that God had made to the children of Israel in Jeremiah 31. And I want you to listen as we conclude today about honoring our fathers. I want you to think about that relationship that means the most. And here's what God said as He had talked about His relationship, His being the Father of His children and His people. In Hebrews 8 and verse 10, for this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says the Lord. I will put my laws in their mind and write them on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. None of them shall teach his neighbor and none his brother, saying, know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their lawless deeds I will remember no more. You know what our Heavenly Father shows us? He wants to forgive. And I will tell you that with our earthly fathers, they need our forgiveness, and they're willing to forgive. Today, if you don't have that forgiveness from your Heavenly Father, do what is necessary. God has commanded in the New Testament, he who believes and is baptized shall be saved. If you want the forgiveness of your sins, if you want God to forget your unrighteousness and your iniquities, that's where you start. If you are a child of God, but you've gotten in a different path or a different course, and you want to be the kind of example, not just dads, but all of us, each one of us, has a responsibility to be an example to others. If today you're not the example that you should be, and you need to renew your commitment to the Lord, just come. We'll be glad to assist you, to pray with you, to help you. Whatever your need is, won't you come right now? Just step to the front while we stand and while we sing.